In this video, we're going to be talking about surface area of prisms. So our essential questions are, what is surface area and how do you find the surface area of a prism? So now we're going to be getting into measurements and calculations with our solids. So let's talk about surface area first. And the surface area of a solid is the total area of all the faces. So we kind of have to imagine what are all of the polygons that make up the outside of our solid. So in this animation here, you can kind of imagine unwrapping a solid or laying it flat, and this is called the net of the solid. So if you were to create a blueprint or a flattened version of a solid, you would have what's called a net. So over here, we have this two-dimensional representation of this cube laying flat, and then we can see all of the different polygons that make up a cube. Well, this is a pretty basic solid, so you can see that all the sides of this cube are squares, and that there are actually 6 of them. There are 6 faces on this cube, and they're all squares, and that's important to be able to do in order to find the surface area. Now, surface area would be the area of all 6 of these squares added together. So it's the total area of all of the faces on a solid. So you can see here I've got another couple examples of prisms. Here on the left I have a rectangular prism, and if I unfold it and lay it flat, you'll see again there are 6 sides to this. We have a base, another identical base, and then we've got 4 sides that are all rectangles. And then this triangular prism, again, if you unfold it and look at the net, we have a base that is a triangle, another identical base as a triangle, and then we've got 3 sides that are or 3 faces that are rectangles. So it's important to be able to kind of deconstruct these prisms to be able to see what all of the parts are and find the areas of them. So how do you find the surface area of prisms? Well, it's a 3-step process here. The first thing we want to do is list the shapes that make up each face. Okay, figure out how many faces that your solid has and list them. If you do that, you're much less likely to forget a face or duplicate or double up on one, trying to keep them all in your head and keeping track of which faces you have and which ones you haven't done. Then we need to find the areas of each face. Now we're going to use the formulas and skills that we learned previously when finding areas of quadrilaterals or triangles and things like that. And then once we do that, we'll add all the areas together. So really, we're just finding the areas of a bunch of polygons. So we've already done this. So for example, we have this rectangular prism here. Now this prism is going to have 6 sides, and then I kind of group them into pairs since they will have identical pairs. Now this shape has a top and a bottom rectangle, or the bases. So those are the ones I'm going to look at first. So our top and bottom rectangles are 9 by 7 rectangles. So I'm going to write that. So my top is a 9 by 7 rectangle, and the bottom is a 9 by 7 rectangle as well. So if I find the area of these rectangles, I'm going to get 63 square inches for both. So that's the top and the bottom. So those are taken care of. Now I'm going to list the left and the right sides. It really doesn't matter what order you do these, but I'm just going to say the left and the right side. So here's the left side. There's that rectangle, and here's the right side rectangle here. And these are 7 by 13 inch rectangles. So I'm going to find the area of those rectangles. 7 by 13 is 91 square inches. And then the left one is also 7 by 13, so that's 91 square inches. So now I have 4 of the 6 faces, and now I'm going to need the front and the back. So the front is this rectangle here, and the back would be this rectangle here. And these are 9 by 13 inch rectangles. So I'm going to have a 9 by 13 inch rectangle here. That's 117 square inches. And the other one is also 9 by 13, which is 117 square inches. So now I've listed all the faces, found the areas of all the faces, and now I just need to add them all together. Okay, and then if you add all of these together, you're going to get your surface area, and the surface area of this prism is 542 square inches. Again, remember how we label our area. And that's all surface area is taking time to find each face, calculate the area of each face, and then sum them all together. And then, so here's another one. This is a rectangular prism, which is also going to have 6 faces. So it's going to have a top and a bottom. It's going to have a left and a right. And it's going to have a front and a back. So I'm just setting myself up here so I don't forget which ones I'm doing. So the top and the bottom, these rectangles are 10 by 3, 10 meters by 3 meters. So to find the area, I'm going to take 10 times 3, and that's 30 square meters. And they're identical, so there are going to be 2 of them that are 30 square meters. Then we have the left and the right. So here's my left side and the right side. These rectangles are 3 by 6. So that gives me an area of 18 square meters, both of them. Whoops, 6. 18 square meters. And then I have a front and a back. So this front rectangle here and this back rectangle here are all 10 meters by 6 meters. That's 60 square meters. And then now all that's left is to add all the areas of all 6 faces together. So I've got them all nicely organized. I know I have all 6 faces and I didn't double up on one or leave one out. So if I just add all of these numbers together, I get a surface area of 216 square meters. And there's the surface area of my prism. So pretty easy to do if I do it in an organized and logical manner. Here, this is a triangular prism, so I need to be especially careful here because they're not paired up in equal rectangles like the rectangular or square prisms are. So I really need to take care and list my shapes correctly. So the first thing I'm going to do is identify the bases. And since this is a triangular prism, the bases are going to be triangles. So I've got 2 bases, and then I'm going to have 3 rectangles for the sides. So I'm going to call that, I want to call that side 1, side 2, and side 3. So that's 3 sides and 2 bases. So that gives me a total of 5 faces. So I know I'm not going to leave any of them out because there are 5 faces on here. So our bases are triangles. And remember, the area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2, or 1/2 base times height. So I'm going to take 1/2, and then the base is 3 centimeters, and the height right here is 2 centimeters. So 1/2 of 3 times 2 is 3 square centimeters. And then the other base back here is going to be an identical triangle. So that's 1/2 times 3 times 2, which is 3 square centimeters. So those are my 2 bases. I've got those taken care of. So now I'm going to clear this off so I don't get too confused. I'm going to now do side 1, which I'm just going to call this bottom. Doesn't matter which side I do first, but I just want to make sure I'm clear which one I'm doing. So I'm going to do this bottom rectangle, and that's a 3 by 4 rectangle. It's not a triangle, so I don't have to do the 1/2 base times height. I'm just doing base times height, and that's going to be 12 square centimeters, and that's that bottom one. So now I'm going to clear that off, and now I'm going to do side 2, which I'm going to do this side right here. And this is a 4 centimeter by 2.5 centimeter rectangle. Notice it's not the same as the bottom one. So when it comes to triangular prisms, I have to make sure I do all 3 sides separately because not all of them are guaranteed to be the same. So I've got 4 by 2.5, that's 10 square centimeters. And then my last side is going to be the one that's kind of hard to visualize here. It's kind of this back one. That's kind of behind it. And this side right here is marked equivalent to this side. So this is 2.5. That's actually 2.5 centimeters here. And it is 4 centimeters here because this is 4 centimeters here. So this is actually also 4 by 2.5. So those 2 rectangles are the same, but I just want to make sure I list them separately. And then lastly, talk to my friend Adam, add them up. Add all of these together and you get 38 square centimeters. So surface area, it takes a little bit. There's a little bit of work you need to do, but if you do it in a nice list, then you're bound to get these correct, and they're really not that hard to do, just a little bit time consuming. We got one last one here. This is a triangular prism as well. So I know I'm going to have my two bases, which are triangles. And then again, I'm going to have my three sides. Side 1, side 2, and side 3. These are all going to be rectangles since this is a prism. So our bases are these triangles right here. These are our bases. So the area is going to be 1/2 base times height. So the base here is 4 meters. The height here is 3. So this is 4 by 3. 1/2 times 4 times 3, 1/2 base times height is 6 square meters. And the other triangle is going to be identical to that, also 6 square meters. So now I've got side 1. I need to do my 3 rectangular sides, and it doesn't matter which one I do first. I'm just going to, again, start at the bottom. This bottom part right here is a rectangle, and that's 4 meters by 6 meters. So that's 24 square meters for the area of that bottom rectangle. So that was side 1. Side 2, I'm going to do this face here. This rectangle right here is 6 by 3, or 3 by 6, and that's 18 square meters. And then I'm going to have one last face. It's kind of this ramp part here. It's hard to see that rectangle. That is a rectangle over here. And this is a 5 by 6 rectangle. And that's going to be 30 square meters. So notice none of the 3 sides were identical. That's what's important when you're doing a triangular prism. None of the sides are guaranteed to be equal. Some of them will be, but it's not guaranteed. So we have to be careful when we do that. And then again, talk to my friend Adam. We're going to add these up. And if I add all of these up, I get a surface area of 84 square meters. So you can see that it doesn't matter what type of prism I have. I'm using the same strategy. I'm listing all the faces, finding their individual areas, and then add them all up. Okay, if you stick to that plan, you'll be just fine finding surface area of prisms.